Basically, I am in this field since last 16 years, and in last 16 years I realized that if you have the perspective about the competitive exams, then only you can succeed in the competitive exams.
So my question is, what is the thing that draws so many students to become IAS and IPS officer or giving these computer exams? What is that thing? Because there are so many students, like uncountable number of students, and it's not just a new thing. It's been since like when you were a student, right? So what is that one thing that draws so many students to become IAS and IPS?
The most important reason why so many students are running behind this challenging field is that the status symbol. Of course, there are few students, a very small fraction, who are more interested in the chance which they get through these services to serve the society. And what I think that should be the prime objective, that should be the prime motive, that if I am an officer, class 1 or class 2, at state level or at central level, I am able to get the authority to serve the nation, to serve the society. So for that opportunity, for that authority, I am preparing for these exams. This should be the objective for every student, but unfortunately, that objective is with very few students. Most of the students are running behind this service just because of that status and job security, nothing else. Even if a CEO or a MD of some MNC wants to meet some class 1 officer, he will have to wait, he will have to take his appointment. Even when our Prime Minister is going to file his forms for elections, he has to go to the collector's office. So that indicates the authority which government officers possess.
If you become an IAS and IPS officer, your life is just glamorous and nothing else. They are not showing what goes on inside the office. They are going to some visit and there are 10 constables behind them, which are the security people, and they are shooting those reels and putting on Instagram.
Of course, there are some restrictions on them due to which they should not do these things, but they are doing. And that's why that is a topic of criticism in present condition.
Think about these people, the police department, the IPS officers. They have to deal with these people every day. Like that's their life. Means they have to deal with the worst part of the society every day. And I was thinking how this job can become glamorous.
Is that why so many people are running behind this service? See, forget about that status symbol, that job security. Apart from that, the problem of our economy is the main reason. As people are not able to get sufficient number of employment opportunities in non-government sector, private sector. That's why they are thinking about the option of government sector. So this is the first thing.
So when I was reading about it, many people say that yes, you want to do service for the nation or status or whatever you like. That comes after. First you have to pass the examination itself, right?
UPSC or MPSC have planned this type of syllabus, this type of examination pattern just to check whether you have the qualities of officer or not.
So UPSC interview has so many myths. Like what kind of questions are going to be asked? Like people say, you go to the third floor and they'll ask you, what is down stairs? This is one of the most famous questions that is in the social media or in general discussion. So I want to ask you, like first with that, it's not true, right?
This is nonsense.
Let's that get out of the way. So you think is that what kind of quality, and other is that what will help you to pass the interview?
See, there are two things. If you go to interview and if you are coming back in just 10 to 15 minutes, then there are two possibilities. Whether you are a genius, so they are able to understand you in just 5 to 10 minutes and they are going to select you. Or you are very worst, that's why they are sending back.
They don't want to waste their time.
Yes. Honesty matters over here. If you are conducting my interview and suppose I don't know answer of a particular question, I should not even think to fool you by giving some stupid answer. I should honestly accept that, sorry sir, I don't know this answer, but surely I will try to collect information about this. So I don't think there is any sense in claiming that now it's a dead end or there is no solution.
Okay, so So welcome everybody to the show, and today we have with us Mr. Amar Jagtap sir. He is the owner of Perspective Academy, who does coaching for MPSC and UPSC. So first of all, thank you for giving us the time, sir.
Thank you. Welcome to Perspective Academy.
Since we are in your academy itself, so let's start with that. So why the name Perspective?
Okay. Basically, I am in this field since last 16 years, and in last 16 years, I realized that if you have the perspective about the competitive exams, then only you can succeed in the competitive exams. So the basic objective behind keeping this or taking this name perspective was whether you have that perspective or not. If you have that perspective, then definitely you can crack the exams and you can get the success in competitive exams.
So like how much time has been passed since you opened your academy?
Actually, it is since last 3 months.
Last 3 months. Before where were you?
Before this, I was working with one institute in Pune, and I was with that institute since 2006.
6. That's a long time.
Yes.
So like how is the response right now? Like
It's a very good response because since 16 years I was in this field, so I had a quite good knowledge about the field, and definitely I was aware about the conditions. So when I started, many students responded very well, and I was able to start my first batch with a century of students.
because most of the students must have known you before.
Yes, that
Right.
was the advantage for me.
So my sister told me you right now teaches geography,
Yeah.
right? So is that the only subject that you teach right now, or is it just entire thing?
Okay, basically I was teaching science, technology, basic science, especially biology, because that was subject of my graduation, and definitely geography is my prime focus. Actually, geography was my optional subject for UPSC exams, so I had a very good interest and knowledge of that subject. That's why I continued with geography. But along with geography, I am also teaching science in that basic science plus science technology.
Your graduation was in science, so like bachelor of
Science, Bachelor of Homeopathic Medicine and Surgery.
So you're a doctor.
Yes.
basically. So it's basically ironic that you are the second person who is a doctor and become somebody else. Because just couple of months back, I took an interview of a CEO. His company is Mux Robotics. They work in artificial intelligence, and he's a dentist.
Okay.
So you are the second one. Because when I met him, I told him that it's pretty unusual for a doctor to be somebody else. Because right now we accept engineers to do something else. Because I am also engineer. So that's very known to everybody. Like people do engineering and then do something else. But it's pretty unusual for doctors to do doctor and then something else.
Nothing as such. If you have passion about some other field, definitely you will leave your original field, whatever it may be.
So like, how was this transition? Like when because once you graduated from the doctor's course, you must have started on practice, or like what happened? Like what made you change from, because it's completely different domains. So how did that happen?
Basically, I did my graduation and my internship in 2002 or 2003. And after that, I started my practice also. But I was not much interested in the practice. Means I was very much interested in study of medical science. But when it comes to practice, I was not much interested. At that same time, I came to know about these competitive exams, and then I started taking information about that thing. I met with few officers who were selected, and then I realized that yes, this is a very challenging field, very much challenging than the medical practice. So slowly I shifted, and then I was in love actually of these competitive exams and this field, and that became my passion. So I continued with that same thing. I appeared for these UPSC exams in 2004, 5, 6 and 7. I appeared 4 attempts, and after that I started teaching also.
So becoming doctor was like your parents' dream or something like that. Because when I asked him, he said that it was my mother's dream, so I had to complete it. So I did the dentistry for the sake of her. After that, I just said to her, okay, you wanted to become a doctor, I am a doctor now, but right now I'm going to do something else. So was it the same case with you, or you just started?
Not at all. Actually, when I was in 10th standard, I had interest in maths and science. And in science also, I had a lot of interest in biology. So after completing 12th science, both options were open for me, engineering as well as medical. And at that time, means I completed my 12th in 1996. At that time, other than medical and engineering, other options were not much known, rather not available in India, like MBA or many other things. They were available, but knowledge about those options was very limited. So for common families, doctor or engineer, these were the only options.
Once you do science, then
Yes, then only two options were there. So I was much interested in biology side. That's why I accepted medical.
So like how much time you said you are in this field? 16 years.
Since 2006.
2006. So like since 2006, like 10, 16 years, right? So my question is, since you have been here so long, so and since your academic name is perspective, so my question is, what is the thing that draws so many students to become IAS and IPS officer or giving these computer exams? What is that thing? Because there are so many students, like uncountable number of students, and it's not just a new thing. It's been since like when you were a student, right? So what is that one thing that draws so many students to become IAS and IPS officer?
See, when we think about so many students preparing for these competitive exams, maybe State Public Service Commission or Union Public Service Commission, that is UPSC, MPSC. The most important reason why so many students are running behind this challenging field is that the status symbol. See, when you are selected as a class 1 officer, the status which you are able to earn, which you are able to get in the society, that is uncomparable. Even if you are in CEO or if you are in MNC and you are a CEO or MD, you don't have that job security which you have in the government field. You might have you might be aware about the Twitter and its CEO. When their company ownership changed, within one night everybody was thrown out. That thing is not possible in these government services. If you are class 1, if you are a IAS or if you are a IPS, then there is a very tedious procedure to remove you from the service. And I don't think anybody has experienced that thing. So the job security and the status which you get due to these services is the main point which is attracting most of the students. Of course, there are few students, a very small fraction, who are more interested in the chance which they get through these services to serve the society. And what I think, that should be the prime objective, that should be the prime motive, that if I am a officer class 1 or class 2 at state level or at central level, I am able to get the authority to serve the nation, to serve the society. So for that opportunity, for that authority, I am preparing for these exams. This should be the objective for every student, but unfortunately that objective is with very few students. Most of the students are running behind this service just because of that status and job security, nothing else.
So you gave like roughly three reasons. One is the status, one is the job security, and other is the purpose to serve the nation. So I want to start with the first one, which is the status, right? Yes, so many students are running behind the status, but is it right?
See, that is normal human psychology. Who won't like that status? Huh? If somebody is appreciating you, if somebody is giving some favor to you, then who won't like? We cannot blame them. Even if that should not be the prime objective, that is a natural human psychology. If I am appreciated by you, if after watching this video people are appreciating me, then definitely I will be happy. So that's a normal human psychology, that if they are running behind some social status or some service which is going to give them social status, we cannot blame them. That is a part of normal human psychology. This is what I feel as a doctor.
But the people who usually say the criticism of the status part is that people are running behind these jobs just because of status. But my opinion on that is, but the same thing is with the doctor as well.
Yes, definitely. That same thing is with doctors, but it is up to a very limited platform. When it comes to government service, it is at a larger platform. Even if a CEO or a MD of some MNC wants to meet some class 1 officer, he will have to wait. He will have to take his appointment. Even when our Prime Minister is going to file his forms for elections, he has to go to the collector's office. So that indicates the authority which government officers possess. Definitely, if a particular service is going to provide you so much authority, then everybody will get attracted to that service. But behind that, there is one more side, means just like a coin, authority is one side and responsibility is also another side. So those who are running behind this service just for the sake of that status symbol or whatever it may be, they should also realize that behind that symbol, that status, there is huge responsibility.
In terms of like status, one thing I like, my opinion on is that is like, yes, you will get your name in the newspaper once you get selected and all that, right? People will call you and news media will run behind and all that thing, but that would be for like for 5 days, right? But after that you have to do that tedious job for rest of your life. So like, are you interested in that part? That makes more of a sense if you want to join it or not.
Yes, exactly.
Right? And one part about this thing that you said about the MD or CEO, right? Well, those people also have status, but their status is limited to their company. Once they step foot outside the company, nobody knows them. But if you are a government officer, let's say district collector, entire district is under you. But just recently, this criticism happened of so many IAS and IPS officers about posting the reels about their daily life, right? So what is happening is that thing that these IAS and IPS officers are doing is just perpetuating that myth that if you become an IAS and IPS officer, your life is just glamorous and nothing else. They are not showing what goes on inside the office. They are going to some visit and there are 10 constables behind them, which are the security people, and they are shooting those reels and putting on Instagram. So my two questions is that, first of all, is it below dignity? And second one is that, is it perpetuating a wrong myth, and which is then following by so many people just joining for the competitive exams?
See, as generation changes, thinking and views changes. If you check our parents' generation and their views, their ideas about a number of things, they are totally different than from ours. So same thing has happened. This new generation and representatives of new generation, when they are selected, their views are totally different. Not all selected officers, but hardly 5% officers are such who are very much interested in making a propaganda of their work, of their status. So they are shooting those videos and reels and posting it on the social media. But they are very few in numbers. Of course, there are some restrictions on them due to which they should not do these things, but they are doing. And that's why that is a topic of criticism in present condition. So ideally, they should avoid such things. Yes, definitely, if they are doing something good, means to create awareness in the public or to guide them about some new thing, then those videos they can post, they should post. But when it comes to just to make a show off of their status, then that should be avoided.
There is not a law or something like that, right? Rule related to.
Nothing such is there. Yet definitely there are some restrictions about the behavior of officer, about their public life. Of course, those are more on the police department officers, but bit less on the administrative or revenue department officers. But nothing a strict regulation is there.
There is no strict guidelines, so it is vague.
That's why it is. I think in near future government will definitely impose such regulations because that is necessary. Because the second part of your question is that, is it going to cause some problem to the new generations or the aspirants? Yes, definitely. These aspirants are getting attracted towards that life which is presented in these social media videos, and then they are running behind those services. But everybody who is running behind these things, that fellow is grown up, means who is preparing for these exams, all those who are in the college life or who have completed the graduation. So they have reached a certain level of maturity. So after watching such videos, they should think whether we should go or we should run behind these things just for a status symbol, or are we really interested in that service. So first everybody should think about this. We cannot blame those officers and those reels videos on social media. It is your responsibility also to think before I take some step about my career.
The reason I ask this is because when people go for IAS or IPS post, right? Forget about IAS for a moment. Like when you talk about IPS officers, right? Basically the police department. So when I was just thinking one day and I was like, who these people deal with, right? In normal day, like I'm a software engineer, right? I wake up in the morning, I go to the office, I write code. There are doctors who go to hospitals, treat patient, right? You are a teacher who come here and teach. So like in the morning, if you read a single news about some sort of crime, right? we just hinge, right? We don't want to talk about it, we don't want to listen it, because we don't want to ruin our day, right? We just turn the page and read something else, so that that crime thing just goes out of our mind. Now think about these people, the police department, the IPS officers. They have to deal with these people every day. Like that's their life. Means they have to deal with the worst part of the society every day. And I was thinking how this job can become glamorous.
See, just now I told you that every coin has its two sides. The uniform, the glory, few officers running behind you. This is one part of the story. And whatever you said, whatever you mentioned just now, that is the second part of story. Everybody is able to see that glorified life, but very few are aware about the actual life which these officers are experiencing. Not just dealing with bad people every day, but if you think about their work hours, if you think about their responsibilities, okay, those are much more difficult things than other people, than the people who are working in MNCs or maybe in doing some private job. Rather, these services are the worst services where you are literally losing your personal life. You are on duty 24/7. So people are not ready to accept that fact.
You are responsible for people's life. Like there's a riot happens, you are the one who's responsible for securing the entire place. Like, so my question is how the second coin can be shown to the people, because second part of side of the coin, because other than that, like many of my friends who also do preparations for MPSC and UPSC, and when I say to them there are so many people, there are very less chance, how can you get? But the most of the answer I get is that yes, there are so many people who do give the exams, but there are very few people who are serious, right? But okay, those few people are here, they are doing the study, but the rest of the, let's say 80% of the people who are there, they're still sacrificing their time, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, they are not serious, but if we show them, okay, this is the one part that you see on reels and videos and all that, but this is also the part, we might save their time. So is there any way to just give a holistic view about these services, that there are some other careers as well other than this?
See, for this, there are two things. The first thing, the social media which is diverting this youth population towards this glamour, that same social media is able to highlight the other side of this condition. Means what responsibilities, what type of life, not just police department but other officers are also living. That second part of life should be presented to the masses through this social media. Why? Because in present condition for the youth population, social media is a very important tool to create some opinion or to make some view about the present condition. So this social media can be used to highlight the opposite side, or I will say the reality of their life. Then definitely they are ready to accept the views of social media, youth population. So they will definitely think about it. So this should be the first thing. Second thing is what? See, whoever is running behind these services or this type of career, they are grown up. So they have their own responsibility to think twice before they start studying for these exams or preparing for any type of competitive exams.
Because right now the unemployment situation is getting worse and worse. Yes. Right, just couple of months back we got the numbers that the unemployment in our country is highest in the history since our independence, right? So when people discuss about these things, experts and all these people, so government job preparation is one part of it, because many people point out that who are the people who are pursuing the government job, people who are usually in the range of 20 to 28. Most of these are people there, right? Most of them, right? So they are running behind these competitive exams, they are not doing anything else. So for that 6 years they are unemployed, so they are counted as unemployed, right? So they are not contributing anything to the economy. Yeah, if they are doing some job they would have done that, right? But other than that, because of this, since they are studying, they are not contributing directly to our economy, they are just studying, right? So that preparation has two drawbacks. One is our economy is getting suffered because so many of students are not working, not doing anything, any job. And the rest of the things is that since they are unemployed, they relied on their parents, so that burden goes on them, right? So like other than like when students are preparing for these exams, right? My question is like, when let's say you want to be an engineer, right? People say you should at least have a basic understanding of mathematics. If you want to be a doctor, you should be able to remember things, because like medicine names are like this big, right? So there are some prerequisite, and so many of my friends just didn't go to engineering because they thought I am not good at mathematics and I am going to fail 100%. But this is not the case with MPSC and UPSC. Everybody goes there regardless of whatever the background is. So my question is, are there any traits that you can find in yourself where you can say, okay, I am eligible or I am not? Other than, because there are so many IPS officers who do motivational speeches like I failed in 10th standard for 4 times, I failed in 12th standard for 5 times, and still I am an IPS officer. So everybody is running behind that. So is there anything that you can search in yourself which can tell you whether you can succeed in this competition or not?
Is that why so many people are running behind this service? See, forget about that status symbol, that job security. Apart from that, the problem of our economy is the main reason. As people are not able to get sufficient number of employment opportunities in non-government sector, private sector. That's why they are thinking about the option of government sector. So this is the first thing. If government is able to develop our economy in such a way that they are able to create multiple job opportunities in private sector, definitely that crowd will get absorbed over there. Automatically people running for these competitive exams or searching for government jobs will reduce. This is the first thing which I will like to mention. The second thing is that, are there certain prerequisites for preparation and success in these exams? Yes, definitely. Those prerequisites does those prerequisites do not include any type of intellectual caliber. Means just now you gave example that there are few officers who failed in school or maybe in graduation, but yet they are able to succeed. At the same time, there are many examples of people who were the toppers, who were in the merit list, but they were not able to succeed in this exam. Clear? One of them is sitting in front of you right now. But whatever be the case, what I want to mention is that how much you know, what is your intellectual caliber, that is bit secondary. The main thing is that how much hard work you are able to do, whether you are able to get the exact direction of these exams. Because see, in UPSC also and in MPSC also, as exam changes, approach and pattern changes. So if you are able to get the right approach, right pattern, then you can succeed in the first attempt. And if you are not able to get the right approach, then even if you are working hard, very hard, honestly very hard work is there, but you won't succeed. So the main thing is that you should able to do hard work, but that hard work should be smart hard work. Smart hard work means you should able to get the approach of that exam, then you can succeed. Then it is immaterial whether you are a topper, you are a student of distinction, or you are just passing with 40-50% marks. Clear? That is a secondary thing.
So we talked about a lot about why people want to do MPSC and UPSC, right? So now I want to talk about the exam itself, the preparation and all those part. Let's assume people have decided to do it and now they are starting coaching classes and all that. So my first question is, as you just mentioned, right? There are some students who pass in first attempt, and there are students who take like 5 to 6 attempts, like 5 to 5 or 6 year. So what is that difference? Like for example, you just mentioned, right? There are examples where students who have failed previously, 10th, 12th, do succeed in exams, and there are toppers who don't, right? So when I was reading about it, many people say that yes, you want to do service for the nation or status or whatever you like. That comes after. First you have to pass the examination itself, right? So what many people think is that people read everything when they are doing MPSC, UPSC, right? And some people pointed out that no, it's an exam. Take it like an exam. So what is your point on that?
See, this is a very important question. When we think about the students who have started preparation for these exams, roughly 20-25% students are such students who are devoting 100%. but out of them very few are selected. Why so? The main reason behind that is the approach which I mentioned just now. So what we should study and what we should avoid, this thing should be considered. See, for UPSC Civil Services exam, the approach is totally different. For MPSC, Maharashtra Public Service Commission exams, approach is little bit different. In MPSC also, as exam changes, approach changes. So when you are preparing for a certain exam, the first important thing is that you need to understand the syllabus. You should take a proper review of previous year question papers of last 5 to 10 years. So those students who are honestly working on these two things, syllabus and previous year questions, they are able to get the direction, they are able to get the approach, in what approach they are framing the question, and accordingly they will develop their study approach and then they can succeed. So this is the first thing, that they should get the proper approach. Once you get the approach, then the second step comes where your work, your hard work matters. You should give your 100%. Means actually many students are studying for almost 10 to 12 hours per day, because yes, because that syllabus is so much huge. When we try to mention syllabus of UPSC, yes, UPSC has published the syllabus, but what I teach to the students in classes is that anything under sun is the syllabus for UPSC. So if so if so much is the syllabus, then definitely you have to give maximum time. So the second thing comes the hard work, and these two things, whether you are able to get the approach and whether you are able to do that much hard work, these two things are going to matter. Second thing, hard work, most of the serious candidates are doing it. Honestly, they are working very hard, but if your approach changes a little bit, then you are going to fail. For example, if you check the UPSC Civil Services exams, the exam which is conducted for selection of IAS, IPS, IRS officers, in present condition, if you check the preliminary question paper or mains general studies question paper, you will find that 80 to 90% questions are on current events. So if that is the condition, then you have to devote maximum time for preparation of current events. But to understand those current events, what is necessary? First, your static knowledge, basic concepts of that particular subject should be clear. Just for example, recently we experienced a tropical cyclone in Bay of Bengal. So that was a news. So everybody is going to study. Yes, why? Because UPSC is giving weightage to current events. So they will study that news. But to understand that news, your basic concepts from geography about the cyclones and tropical cyclones should be clear first. Your basic concepts of science technology like remote sensing and how that remote sensing helps to predict these cyclones and able to give the early warning, that should be clear. Then only you can understand this news. Clear? So this thing should be clear in the mind of students. Then they will do their static basic conceptual study first, then they will cover their current events. So the approach part is clear.
Don't just read on a shallow level. Just read the news. Okay, this was the name of the cyclone, this was the date, these many people died, this is the amount of destruction it is.
That is literally useless.
So since we are talking about the syllabus, I always wonder, since you just mentioned, right, anything is under the sun is the syllabus of the UPSC. What these people want the students to learn before getting into UPSC? Like, what is their expectation behind setting the syllabus like this, so big, right? Like, for example, in engineering, the syllabus is pretty fixed. You need basic mathematics, you need the programming language, grammar, and the logic. That's it, you are done, because their job is to write the code based on a logic. Now here, since you are appearing for a job which requires variety of work, right, and maybe that's the reason why they are giving you so big syllabus, right, but still I want your opinion, like what is the reason behind keeping syllabus so big? Like you need to have everything, geography, science, physics, what is the reason behind it?
See, the basic thing is that UPSC or MPSC looking at you as future officers, and they are trying to check those qualities of officers in you at preliminary exam level, mains level, as well as at personality test or interview level. They are just trying to check whether you are suitable as officer. Now what is officer? Officer is that person who is going to have authority to solve the problems of citizens. Officer is that person who has the responsibility to think about the future. What problems in near future our city or our village or our citizens will face. If I am Commissioner of Pune Municipal Corporation, my job is to solve present problems as well as my job is to think about what will be the condition of this city after 25 years and what could be the problems after 25 years. So I should have that vision, and accordingly I can prepare this city infrastructure to solve those problems. So UPSC MPSC is just trying to find out those things, whether you have the knowledge, whether you have the vision, whether you are able to predict the problems, and not just predict the problems, are you able to stop those problems from happening, are you able to suggest some solutions to those problems. This is what they are trying to understand. Now when we think about the syllabus, as I mentioned, anything under sun, the preliminary examination level, they have almost all the subject: history, geography, civics, science, economics, current events. So they are just trying to check whether you are able to do that much hard work, whether you are able to do the study of maximum syllabus. When it comes to mains level, they are trying to check your understanding, whether you are able to analyze the issue, whether you are able to check the pros and cons, and are you able to arrive at particular conclusion. And when you reaches to the personality test level or interview level, your presence of mind, does you have the skill to mention the information which you have in minimum words in pinpoint way. So at every step they are trying to check the qualities of officers, whether you have those qualities in you. If you have, you will get selected. So I always suggest students that when you start preparation for competitive exams, UPSC or MPSC, don't take these exams like your regular graduation or school exams. Their approach is totally different. As you mentioned, they have the fixed set of syllabus. Over here, condition is totally different. First, think about those organizations who are conducting the exam. Why they are conducting exam? They are searching for good officers. What is good officer? He should have knowledge for everything, because you don't know in which department you will get posted. You may be in police department, you may be in administration. In administration, in this month you may be in health department, next month you may be in revenue department. So you should have knowledge about everything. That is what is in the syllabus now. They have included every subject in syllabus so that you can get at least minimum knowledge of every subject. When you are working at a particular post, you are facing multiple problems. At that time, you should have the capacity to take a decision in a neutral manner. And to take that decision in neutral manner, you have to analyze the problem. You have to consider both the sides, and then you needs to arrive to some conclusion. That ability is checked at the level of mains. And your presence of mind, suppose you are a police commissioner and there is a mob in front of you of 500 people and your force is of just 50. And if you want to maintain the law and order, you should have presence of mind, you should have courage. Those qualities are checked at the level of interview. So in short, I will summarize that UPSC or MPSC have planned this type of syllabus, this type of examination pattern just to check whether you have the qualities of officer or not.
One of the reason is that because our administration service is a general purpose service. It's not a specific service.
Definitely.
Right? You can be sent to any department, right? So since we talked about the syllabus now, the next step when the student gets passed is mostly the interview, right? So UPSC interview has so many myths. Like what kind of questions are going to be asked? Like people say, you go to the third floor and they'll ask you, what is the amount of stairs? This is one of the most famous question that is in the social media or in general discussion. So I want to ask you, like, first with that, it's not true, right?
This is nonsense.
Let's that get out of the way. So you mentioned a little bit of this answer of my question in the previous answer itself. But still, I want to give a little bit time to this specific question. When these people go to the interview process, right? So most of their previous things are already checked up, their general knowledge and this kind of things. So what is the purpose of interview? Like what the panel who is sitting in front of them expect them to do? Like what is they expecting? Like the kind of questions they ask, right? What kind of qualities they want? One thing is that what kind of quality, and other is that what will help you to pass the interview.
See, when you reach the interview level, which is the third level after preliminary exams, means you reach to the interview level. At that level, you are directly interacting. I will use the word interacting, not facing. You are directly interacting with those people who are part of service, maybe for 3 to 4 decades, and they are very experts. They are belonging to different departments, maybe police, maybe administration, maybe customs, maybe revenue, and they are very good face readers. Clear? So how you behave, what you think, does you have the confidence or not? Are you making eye to eye contact? Then you have the confidence. If you are just looking at some place, such minute things they are trying to check, means they are trying to simply analyze your personality. Does you have confidence? First thing. Second thing, level of your knowledge. Usually, not usually, but almost in every case, these interviews are going to ask you about the current situations. Maybe there is some current problem related to our economy, maybe about society. So they are going to ask questions related to that, and while answering those questions, you should able to analyze the things, you should able to arrive to some neutral conclusion. So they will try to check whether you have that ability to analyze the present situations, present problems. This is second thing which they are trying to check. The third thing, usually this interview is related with your biodata, means since your birth till today, what is your journey and what type of life you have experienced. Related to that, they are asking few questions. So overall, what your knowledge level, your thinking, your analytical ability, and your confidence, these things they try to check at the level of interview.
Like, so that's like how much time does the interview on an average?
Usually, see, there are two things. If you go to interview and if you are coming back in just 10 to 15 minutes, then there are two possibilities. Whether you are a genius, so they are able to understand you in just 5 to 10 minutes and they are going to select you, or you are very worst, that's why they are sending back.
They don't want to waste their time.
Yes, exactly. Usually for average candidate, it differs. 30 minutes plus minus. So for some 20 minutes, for some 45 minutes, it depends.
Basically, those 30 minutes will decide whether your effort of 2 to 5 years, 2 to 3 years is worth it or not.
No, not as such, because if you have scored very good, excellent marks in your mains examination, clear, which is around 700 or 1800 marks. As the exam changes, numbers changes, and interview will contribute just 200 to 250 marks. Means in overall ranking, whatever score is there, in that role of interview is just 20%.
You can compensate in the.
Yes, yes. What happens if you are able to perform very well in your returns, in your mains, but if you are not able to perform in interviews, you may get selected, but your rank will be lower. And if you are able to perform in both, you will be a topper.
I worked in a software company for like 3 years, and I used to take interviews. So many of my juniors used to ask me like, what should I prepare for the interview? So I used to always tell them, prepare for the answer question whose answer you don't know. Like, what will you tell? Because what happens is that if I ask you a question and you already know the answer, most probably it's okay. Like I know what. What I will judge you upon is that what was your response to a question whose answer that you didn't know. Because that's what told to us by our seniors. Like when you ask a question to a student who is preparing for the coming for the interview and he gives you a right answer, then it's not too much that you can judge him upon, but ask him something that he doesn't know and then see what he does, right? Whether he just give up or he tries to move his answer around trying to fool you, or just flat out says, okay, I don't know, right? So in UPSC interviews, because this is the question I ask to every student, like you are sitting in an interview and they ask you something who you do not have any clue about. What should be your answer?
See, this is very important thing which usually students ask us when they are preparing for their interviews. See, there are going to be some questions whose answers you don't know. You are not a supercomputer, so that you should able to answer everything. Honesty matters over here. If you are conducting my interview and suppose I don't know answer of a particular question, I should not even think to fool you by giving some stupid answer. I should honestly accept that, sorry sir, I don't know this answer, but surely I will try to collect information about this. This should be the best answer. And you won't believe, one of my senior was there when he appeared for this civil services exam interview. Ma'am, there were 5 members in the panel. All those asked him one question, and for all those 5 questions he was not able to answer. Now just imagine, if you would have been at his place, then the stress, nervousness would have reflected on your face. But his situation was exactly opposite. He was very much confident and bit smiling. He answered to all of them, sorry sir, I don't know, but I will try to collect the information. Now in such situation his confidence level matters a lot. When they asked him 6th and 7th question, he was able to answer very well. And after 7th question, his interview was over. When he came back, he almost assumed that I have lost this attempt. But when his marks were observed, then it was found that he was able to score very good marks in the interview. So over here, it doesn't matter whether you have knowledge or you don't have knowledge. What mattered? How you face that situation. If you are an officer, you don't know at what time you will face critical situation. So in such situation, you should not lose your courage, you should not lose your confidence. Be firm at your place, be honest at your place, and face the situation. So in that particular example of interview, what they checked, his confidence level, not the knowledge. Clear? The deciding factor was how he faced the first 5 questions. What he answered in last 2 questions, that was bit secondary. So this thing is important for these interviews.
Will be questions whose answer you don't know, and most of the time we used to do that. We used to purposefully ask him something that he was not supposed to know, but still used to ask him.
That is normal tendency of every person who is conducting interview.
Just to rattle him a bit, just to check him. So like,
but when UPSC panel is asking such type of question, their objective is to check whether he is losing his confidence or not. It is not to harass him.
talked about why people want to do this, right? The syllabus, the interview as well. So I want to talk to about your subject, right? Geography. Since you came from medical background and then turned to geography, when I came to you for asking for the interview, we discussed about this as well. We don't give that much of importance to geography. It's coupled with history and civics, and just is just over, right? So just tell us, like, what is the importance of geography?
Assumption is that geography is part of social science. Usually in school level, social studies, or in Marathi we call it as Samaj Shastra, in which we study 3 subjects collectively: history, geography and civics. But geography is a very semi-scientific subject. It is actually on the boundary of pure sciences and social sciences. When you study subject of geography, you will realize that half of the geography is related purely to the physics. You should have the basic knowledge of physics to understand geography, whereas remaining half of geography is purely social science. A simple example which we discussed just now about that cyclone. Tropical cyclone, or in general cyclone, is a topic in geography in climatology. So when you study climatology or any topic of climatology, you should have basic knowledge of physics about the temperature, pressure, density and few more things. So this is going to make that subject very much scientific and very interesting also. Okay. The second aspect of this subject is that it is very much related to current events. You pick up any branch of geography, that knowledge have tremendous relevance in current situation. For example, the climate. The most important problem which we are facing today is climate change due to global warming. We think about the greenhouse effect, we think about global warming, we think about ozone layer depletion, various forms of pollution, acid rain, wetland degradation and many more things. All those environmental issues are basically studied in geography. When you think about the problems of city like traffic congestion, problem of slum, problem of waste disposal, all those are the problems of urbanization which you have to study in geography. Just now in last few days there is a news that we are going to overtake China in terms of population, and we are going to face lot many problems. So all that is studied in population geography. So you just pick up any present problem, that problem is very much related to geography. We are experiencing scarcity of water, drought condition, quite common in Maharashtra. All those things are related to water resources, geography. We are suffering from energy crisis, that is related to energy resources, again geography. We are suffering from problem of soil erosion, especially in rural areas, again that is related to geography. So mainly geography is such a subject which is considered to be a static subject, but that is a wrong assumption. Geography is a highly dynamic subject and very much related to current events. So whenever students are preparing geography as a part of GS, and especially when they are selecting geography as an optional subject for UPSC and MPSC, they should be aware about this fact that it is not that geography which we have studied in 10th standard. It is totally different geography.
Standard geography is all about boundaries.
Yes, that's it. Rain, wind, yes, those things are there, but those things you have to study from scientific view and with current perspective.
See, this is the reason why I almost say that if you think something is boring, talk to the expert of that thing and you will understand. Because nobody will be able to link those many things to geography. So because most of the people think, as I just mentioned, that geography is all about just boundaries. This is that country, this is that country, this is their border. That's it. So we are coming to the end of the interview. So since we talked about a lot of things, right, and you have worked for like 16 years till now. So what are the changes that you have seen in 16 years in this field, about students, about exams, officers in general? Are there any changes, significant changes that you have seen of how students approach things, all those kind of things?
Definitely, there are drastic changes. Changes are mainly in students who are preparing for these exams. Changes are in UPSC, MPSC. See, when we think about students, I will tell you my own experience. When I was preparing for these exams, I joined a coaching institute in 2004. That coaching institute was one of the well-known institute, and they had only one batch in the whole year. Okay, and in that batch there were just 23 students. All of us reached up to the level of interview, and more than 60% of them were selected in some or other post. So 100% candidates were serious. Now that same coaching institute today have around 10 to 12 batches of that particular exam, and for each batch they have almost 200 plus students. So number of students who are appearing for these exams has increased drastically. On the contrary, number of students who were preparing for these exams seriously has declined sharply. Out of those huge numbers who are preparing today, not even 5% are able to reach up to the interview level. Forget about the number of who are getting selected. So sort of commercialization has occurred. There is tremendous awareness due to media in the masses about the social status and those things which we discussed just now, and that's why many students are running behind that. A simple thing ki our neighbor got selected, so parents are interested, ja baba ja, Punela ja, Delhi ja, and start studying. So such type of crowd has increased. This is the change which we have observed. Second thing is that the students have become very much lazy. When I was preparing, at that time internet was not present in 2004. So access to information was very much limited. So we were bound to do hard work. Today access to information is very easy, which is making students very much lazy. And this same access to information is responsible for them to divert. See, the mobile which we are using is a sword which has both edges. It depends on you whether you use the Insta, Facebook or Twitter or WhatsApp. On opposite side there is Google who can provide you necessary and good information. So students should think about this. And the second thing, when we think about the UPSC and MPSC, what is the change? There is a lot of change in both of them. See, UPSC itself is highly dynamic. The point where students stop thinking, from that point they start thinking. If they are framing a question paper for 2023, they have the vision of 2030. At least, what will be the problems India facing in 2030 related to city infrastructure or environment? Based on that, they are going to frame the questions. So they are very much ahead of time, and that is appreciated. That should be the condition. Then only they can select good officers. So definitely, when we try to compare the change, UPSC, MPSC has upgraded their condition, whereas unfortunately, I will conclude that students have degraded their condition. Not all, but majority of them.
A lot of information, sir. And so this is my last question. Okay, so most of the students who prepare for his exams, many of them don't get selected. Obvious reasons, because the competition is so high. Right? They are 28, 20 years, 9 years old. They don't have the government job that they were preparing for. Now they have forgot everything of what they learn in degree, whether it be engineering, BA, BCom, whatever itself. So what is the way forward for them? What should they do now?
See, this question is very important. Only 1% students are selected. Maybe not even 1%, much less than 1. What about the others who are not selected? They have left their field of graduation for almost 3, 4, maybe 5, 6 years. And now if they try to come back to that field, they are almost outdated, especially for engineering sector, 101% they are outdated. And many times they don't have interest to go back to that same field. So what should they do? See, over here I will like to mention that whenever you are honestly preparing for UPSC, MPSC, you experience that your personality is developed. Forget about the result. Your personality is developed, and this personality is going to present tremendous level of confidence, a huge level of knowledge. See, to become successful, actually definition of success is going to differ for person to person. Okay. So to become successful, what you should have, the first thing, confidence, self confidence. If you have confidence about yourself, you can do anything in your life, which UPSC, MPSC is going to build in you. Of course, for those who are working hard honestly, not for those who are just doing time pass. So for these students, they have achieved that level of confidence. Along with that, they have knowledge about n number of things. So using just these two things, without taking help of anybody, they can develop their own source of income. So this is not the condition that there is a dead end for them. Now
Most
they,
of the people think like that.
yes,
So
that is not the reality. He or she is at the age of 30. He is not selected. Attempts are over, and now he don't have any earning source. That is not the issue. We have many examples who have started their career at the age of 60 and they have reached to peak. So these people, they are in the youth stage, and the most important advantage which they have is the confidence and knowledge. These two things are more than sufficient to become successful, to develop their own income source. So I don't think there is any sense in claiming that now it's a dead end or there is no solution.
not over, you can still do something.
Yes.
So thank you, sir, for giving us the time, and best of luck for your academy. Thank you very much.